and welcome to another edition of Wealthy and Wise. I'm your host, Court Christie, and today we're going to be talking about how you can turn your home or your vacation property into a tax-free money machine. That's right, a tax-free money machine. So how do we do this? Well, I brought in an expert today, one of our top advisors at NCH. We've got Mr. David Van Landingham. David, thanks for being on the program.
Absolutely. Great topic.
And this is a cool topic, and I'm sure everybody's out there wondering, well, how do we go about this? So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, so we get questions from people all the time that are like, well, I hear you can rent out your house and make money off of it, but for a certain period of time. So what we have to first look at is what is a qualifier for that? So it has to be either your primary residence, as you said, or vacation home. So the rule is you must live there for at least 14 days out of a year. You can only rent it for a maximum of 14 days a year. And it's just a little nugget that's buried in the tax code called the IRC 280A, but it's there for us.
So, and it's the same. You must be in that house 14 days, your home, which is obvious for everyone listening.
Right.
But for a vacation property that you might have somewhere nice, a cabin in on a lake somewhere, you have to be in that 14 days as well during the year.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Now they're both qualified because the 14 days actually qualifies the vacation home as a primary for the IRS. That's the way they look at it. So there's different little things that you can do. I don't know about you, but I mean, look, we could take, I know one of your condos that you have. So we could take that condo and we could rent it out for 14 days. And what we have to do first is go and do some market research, find out, and we look at it by the bed and bathroom count. Notice I didn't say bedroom, I said bed. Because if you see some of these VRBOs and Airbnbs, they may have a bedroom with 2 or 3 bunk beds in there, right? Pack them in. So we want to look at the same bed and bathroom count, square footage as well, any amenities that you find attractive, swimming pool, movie theater, things like that, and be right in that comparison rate. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be in the high end, you don't want to be on the low end, but you definitely want to make sure that you are right there in the middle. And that's how you do it. So the question becomes, do you want to have people living in your condo?
That's a question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already thinking I'm going to lock up my guns and other things in closets because I don't want people accessing stuff. So that could be a problem for somebody, but it is a way to make that. I mean, I've been to your condo before. I tell you $1,000, $2,000 a night, you could probably get. So that's $28,000 on the year right there.
And you just mentioned, Formula One, right? Formula One is coming to Las Vegas. What can you get during that period of time for the same space? We've got a Super Bowl coming up in February next year.
Correct.
Same kind of thing as when these mega events are happening. Imagine what you could charge.
So absolutely. So again, but that's to have somebody else there. Are you okay with that?
That's a great question.
So if you're not, there's other options. So we want to look at different things that can be available to us. So maybe not somebody sleeping in your bed, right? So the first thing to do is obviously look at the Airbnb VRBO and go that route. If that's not something you want, then the next step would be to potentially rent out the space by the hour. There's a place called Gigsters and This Open Space and Splacer. There's these websites that you can sign up and put your condo in there and possibly have it used in a movie theater or movie shoot, have a photo shoot, have some special event there. And they'll rent for $300, $400, $500 an hour. Now you don't have people staying overnight. You might have a heck of a mess to clean up the next day, but that's an option. The third option is, what if you don't want anybody that you really don't know staying there? How about this? Let's take that place and rent it to our own company. You trust yourself, I would say, right? So we can do that. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go and we're going to find that common comp for that area for that time of year, possibly an event or something. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rent it out based on that. Now, these don't have to be 14 consecutive days. You can do 2 or 3 days a month. You can spread it out however you want to. It's a total of 14 days. So you can do company retreats, if you will. You can do some networking and marketing events if you want to. And, that's all 100% legitimate. Now, you do want to do certain things to make sure that you're covering your backside. You want to make sure that you do have a lease agreement, whether you're leasing it to somebody else or yourself or your own business. you want to make sure you have the proper paperwork in place. You will also cut yourself a 1099 for this as well. And then through the process of the exclusion, the 280A will be excluded from that. So if you bring in $14,000 or $28,000 in income, the 280A will exclude that from your income.
Interesting. So I can go out to the public, and maybe could be a challenge depending on exactly how many people I want in the house or what kind of personal effects I do have around. I think in the case of my condo in Las Vegas, which is not my primary, but it's a business location. Essentially, I use it when I come down to Las Vegas. I don't have anything too special in there, right? I don't have all my personal effects, just a few things. So that would be an easy one. I think when I consider my primary resident, and then, of course, getting my wife on board as well.
Right.
But there are some massive events in Northern Nevada where I have my primary residence, and you can find rooms when those big events are happening there. Yeah. So, it'd be real easy to say, hey, for this week, we're going to buzz out and get away somewhere, come to Las Vegas and use that location for that time. Interesting. So the same with then a vacation rental as well, or not a vacation rental, a vacation property I might have. Okay.
Yep.
And so same rules apply, whether it's you could use it for your business or you could just have somebody stay in it for up to 14 days tax-free.
That's correct. 100%. Now, if you're using it for your own business, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I think you need to have, if it's an annual meeting, make sure you're recording your minutes and meetings and everything. But have documentation that this was a company function. It's 100% legal. And again, I mentioned the Augusta rule. That's when it first came about. You got a small little area. If you've ever been to Augusta, Georgia, there's not a lot of hotels there. So where are the people going to stay? So they started renting out their homes. And it worked perfect on the timeline. Daytona 500, same thing. So any of these special events, Super Bowl, that's a great one. I can only imagine what your place. And I think looking at the Formula One, the Grand Prix, you might be able to see it from your balcony.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
There's a couple buildings in the way, but we're not far away. You can walk there in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Then, so you mentioned the Augusta rule. Everybody's well familiar with the golf tournament that occurs every year. And so the IRS, it's interesting that this could come about. Like if you were literally renting your house for $5,000 a night for a week, so somebody's family, extended family could watch their son play in that tournament, that's 100% tax-free.
100%.
There's no limit.
No limit, no restriction.
As long as it's comparable. And at that point, it's going to be comparable to all the other people renting in that area. Yep.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see a spike in those areas. And I've done it myself. I've looked at going to different locations for a weekend. We actually just went up to Daytona and spent the weekend up there. And the first thing I did was get on Airbnb and started looking at the prices and everything. And I mean, pretty much every place was within like $20, $30 of each other when they're comparables. So yeah, on those spikes, when you get those anomaly type events coming to town, yeah, you can score a lot of cash, fast. Or how about even a movie shoot, a location. If you're going to use your condo for 3 or 4 days shooting, what are you going to get for that? $5,000-$10,000 a day? Probably.
What a great thing, especially if you have the right kind of property in the right location, just to put it out there.
Absolutely.
What's the name of that website that you could put it on?
Gigster is probably the biggest. This Open Space is another one, but Gigster is probably the big one. Peerspace is another one. There's a whole bunch of them out there for a reason, because people are doing it. But back to the business side of it, let's look at the tax break for the business, because they get to write that check to lease the space. So now they're not paying tax on that money. Plus, it's a write-off as well.
Right. So it lowers the business tax. And you take that income into your pocket.
Non-taxable.
Zero tax.
Yep.
There will be some reporting. They need to send you a 1099 at the end of the year.
Yep.
But you simply, deliver it then to your tax professional, letting them know that this is under the Augusta rule and it's non-taxable.
That is correct. So that goes on your tax return as a 1099 miscellaneous income, and then the 280A excludes it.
Wow. Well, I think that's something that everybody listening should take advantage of, depending on the area that you live in. But you might be surprised, every city has an event. Maybe, like you said, if there's Hollywood coming to your neighborhood they want to take advantage of, a photographer that's just looking for the right kind of environment to shoot in. There's a lot of different options.
Yeah, the tax code is out there. Everybody says, well, it's not fair that the rich keep getting richer based on the tax code. Well, they have the right people looking at the tax code and breaking it down and saying, here's where you can make some money.
And so many of our listeners have their own businesses, and you have to use that for meetings that you might want to have, a retreat for you and your employees, or some employees to take advantage of. Maybe it's also, the annual meeting that we always talk about with our clients is, as a business owner and you have an LLC or a corporation, you can have an annual meeting of your members, of your ownership structure, and you sit down and you discuss, the successes of the past or the challenges of the past, and you look forward and do some planning for where you're heading in your organization. Again, your business can write you a check for that. It's deductible to the business and tax-free to you. So we're all trying to figure out, how do we reduce our taxes? You got a great example right here from David Van Landingham. Thank you, David.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great program today. I hope you all are taking notes. And if you don't trust us, call your tax professional. Verify the Augusta rule. Find out all about it. It's a great little strategy for individuals to earn income tax-free. And there aren't a lot of ways of doing that anymore. So thanks for tuning in again to another one of our programs here at Wealthy and Wise. I'm your host, Court Christie, and NCH is our sponsor here, and that is the company where we make things happen. Ideas like this are exactly what we're doing for our clients day in and day out. We're setting up their business structure, we're helping them minimize their taxes, and we're also helping them work on their estate and planning for the next generation as well. And we've got amazing experts like David Van Landing here that are advising our clients day in and day out. We have a complimentary service for anyone that's listening. Simply call us. We'll get you on the calendar of one of our amazing professionals. We do not charge anything for the consultation. They'll talk to you about what your options are and exactly what we feel like you should do to get ahead and take advantage of some of these services that we have for you. So again, take advantage of this free offer for anyone listening. Get on the calendar of one of our amazing advisors here at NCH. Also, for those of you listening, please like and subscribe. It helps us spread the word to the world. So thank you again for tuning in.